Hey kids, this is Aaron from the podcast that wouldn't die, and Kevin and I use Zencastr. You think you're better than us, that you're using something else? You're wrong. Zencastr's the place to be. Who are you to deny it?
It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code DIEHARD and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time for you to share your story.
Only a fool will give up a chance for a 30% discount.
I saw a guy who got a 2-inch needle stuck into his arm while he was under hypnosis, didn't feel a thing.
Okay, Kreskin, prove it. Hypnotize somebody.
Yeah, do me.
No.
Come on. What's the worst that can happen?
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hello.
This week, we're discussing the, psychological thriller, horror. It's Stir of Echoes, starring Kevin Bacon and others. Who? What's her name?
That chick from Criminal Intent.
Okay.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Correct.
And then her wacky sister who's in everything.
Ileana Douglas is the sister.
And then there's that guy who's in a bunch of stuff.
Kevin Dunn is the neighbor who's in a, as you said, who's kind of, now I don't know how old Kevin Bacon is, probably not young, but his friends seem too old to be like they were high school friends. Am I crazy?
I don't think they were high school friends. I
thought
thought they were
Maybe I was wrong.
they're neighbors.
They're definitely neighbors, but you think he's an older dude. Maybe he is. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know why I thought they were contemporaries.
No. I think this is like a neighborhood. I was thinking, I'm like, what a fun neighborhood, except for that fucking train going right an inch from their house every day.
Absolutely.
But I'm like, I would love to have cool neighbors who threw soirees and such.
Where it's nonstop block parties.
Nonstop block parties.
Every day.
Drink
any
it.
occasion. Absolutely. Anyway, each week.
Cool houses, too. Cool houses.
Yeah, when the homie is like, man, I'm just so ordinary. Bro, you're a lineman who clearly lives in a palatial estate. Anyway.
I looked it up. He's like, I won't be a lineman forever. I looked up, linemen make like $80,000 on average.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
Not bad, my friend.
Absolutely. Each week on the podcast that wouldn't die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genre with a comedic twist. Aaron, one thing I was going to say, we haven't done this in a while. Aaron is indeed my sister.
Uh-oh. Is that coming up again?
I think it's important to set the ground rules early and often.
We're like a couple that lives like 300 miles away from each other, and that's just the way we like things.
That's just the way we like things. No, if somebody tells you our relationship works because we spend no time together, then your relationship doesn't work.
That's right.
But that's neither here nor there. Again, Aaron, not spouse.
Not spouse.
Sister. Sibling.
Yes. I am your older sister.
Yes.
And you are one of my younger brothers.
Correct. You're one of my older sisters as well. Good
It's
grief.
true. It's true.
What's the latest with you?
There are a lot of those.
That is true.
Oh, geez, Louise. It's Monday and I'm already irritated. But like I said, I got to tell myself it's for money. And
Yes.
some of that just slides off. Slides it off. I'm supposed to go see fucking Pearl Jam on Friday, and this bootleg place where I bought these third-party tickets said that I put in that my city and state was Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Well, first of all, I can't spell Philadelphia, nor can I spell Pennsylvania.
Correct.
So how did I ever type that? So my tickets are in Philly. I can't get this. This company won't give me the name of the seller, nor will they contact the seller. FedEx says only the seller can approve the address change to have it mailed to me, and it will cost them an additional $22, and I would need them by Thursday. So
Well,
it ain't looking good that I'm going to this frickin' thing.
Well, here's my question to you. Is there some couple in Philadelphia going, ooh, look at this. Lucky
Nope.
day.
Okay, here's the twist. You know, all
Yes.
these scams are going on, people calling you up. So last Wednesday, I got a call from FedEx saying that they had a package that was determined undeliverable by the carrier. And they wanted to clarify 3020 Spruce Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm like, this is a scam. So I deleted it.
Oh, no. Wah,
So I
wah,
deleted
wah.
it because this bootleg company just said your tickets have been mailed. Not that it was mailed 2-day FedEx with a tracking number. No. It took me opening a ticket with them for them to give me the tracking number. And then I look and I'm like, oh, shit. So here
Your
we
dreams
are.
are ruined. It's over.
Well, everybody else is listening to Eddie Vedder and Devo and Crowded House. I'll be sitting in my living room because I'm still taking the day off, crying slowly to myself, calling Wells Fargo, trying to get my $200 back.
I mean, I guess that's the risk when you go bootleg, right?
I
It's
mean,
a
it's
sad,
very
sad,
weird.
sad
They
movie
usually
show.
give you like an email address of the seller in case you have questions or there's a problem. And this isn't a ticket, it's a wristband. So it's not like they can resend the tickets.
I see.
So, hallelujah, praise the Lord, Merry Christmas.
That sounds miserable and sad. I'm sorry to hear you.
It does. I'm still taking that day off even if I don't get tickets.
Hey,
Just gonna
as a
lay in
school
bed.
teacher, I need no excuse to take the day off. I will do it. It's like Becky will often say, "Why don't you take a half day?" I'm like, "How about a full? If I'm taking
Exactly.
in for a penny, in for a
Exactly.
pound." Absolutely. Give us your 30-second synopsis of Stir of Echoes.
Stir of Echoes is kind of a cool ghost story. It's like it was right on the hills of like The Sixth Sense.
Mhm.
Ghosts and psychic business was all the rage way back when. You had like The Others.
Love the others.
I love me some ghost stories. So you got like the wacky sister-in-law who's a hypnotist and unlocks a door in Kevin Bacon's pig-headed mind. And now ghosts are visiting him and his boy. And he has to solve a mystery. And he's getting like echoes from the past, echoes of the future. He's crazy and is clearly married to the most patient woman in the whole effing world.
Yes.
I mean, there can be nothing else. And he solves a crime, and I don't know. Are they homeless now because they chopped up their house, and he hasn't been to work in a month?
It was just a
And
rental.
she's pregnant. It was just a rental. So financially, if you solve a crime, it does not pay for the weeks you were not at work.
Correct. No, it does not. Well, he's lost his job at this point.
He's lost his job. He's the
Correct.
Wichita lineman, and he's still on the line.
Yep. As Glenn Campbell once said.
Yes.
And this was your movie selection, if I'm remembering correctly, or no?
This was on that list because we're going to discuss this at a different podcast. So I picked this. I said this or Stigmata. Both of which I remember liking. But Stir of Echoes, for sure, I've seen it like 50 times.
50? I think I saw this
Maybe
once.
4.
I saw. Yes.
I've seen it a lot. For a while, it was always on. And I'd be like, oh, okay.
Did you see it in the theater? Do you remember?
I do not believe I did.
I know I've seen this once. And if I had to guess, I did not see it in the theater. That was it. I have not.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
It's like on HBO or whatever streaming service, I believe is where I saw it.
But you're right. It's like a good ghost story. You can't beat it. You can't beat it. It might be the most consistently creepy subgenre of horror. Ghost stories, no question.
I love ghost stories. Give me a good ghost stories. And the kid, I love the kids. You know, most of the time these kids are freaking irritating. Not Haley Joel Osment, not the other kids, and not this kid. And he really didn't do anything else. But he is perfect for this.
No, he's great. He's really great. He's a sweet little boy who, apropos of nothing, also sees dead people.
I see dead people. It's in the family.
It's in the family. Because what is it? The first time we meet him and Kevin Bacon, he's already speaking to dead people.
He's having a full-blown conversation facing the camera. Meanwhile, Dad's just talking in the background, has no idea what's going on. Little Junior is just fully conversing with the others.
Absolutely. But yeah, we were suggested, we were given a list. We're going to go on the show, Back to the Blockbuster. And he said, here's a list. And you wanted to do Stigmata, as you said, or Stir of Echoes. And he actually offered us the chance to do both. And I said, no.
I'm already exhausted thinking about it.
I said, Stir of Echoes will be the one we'll choose this time.
That's
Thank
right.
you very much.
The double whammy is more of a summertime situation. I think.
No question. I totally agree. Totally agree. So, as you guys know, if we go on a podcast, we're doing the double dip. We are doing the double dip. So, I try to have different jokes, different commentary from each place. Aaron makes no such promises.
I make no such promises. I prefer to go on to the other podcast first so I can steal their insight and have it pop up out of my mouth like I just thought of it.
Well, that's always an option. Always an option. But let's get right down to this. Let's get right to the highlights. I took absolutely zero notes because I was kind of into this.
I was into it. I didn't take that many. I don't know why I put down anything, but there were some funny things like the brother sends a fax. That
right, what was
grandma's
that?
going to the hospital.
Oh, that's right. I didn't know what that was. Right.
Yeah, that was a fax because there was a time before we were on the internet. A quick message, like I had a job and I would sit there. This is pre-email, and I hated this job. It was a temp job, so I would type. It was literally like Stephen King of The Shining.
Yes.
I hate Hugh Dow. I'm just going to put it out there because he's not listening to this podcast. I had this boss named Hugh Dow who was like a Satanist. And I would just type over and over and over, I hate Hugh Dow, I hate Hugh Dow, until I filled the entire sheet. Then I printed it, walked over to the fax machine, and faxed it to my friend Julia, who was working at like a party supply store. And that's how we would communicate. Because you got to stand there and wait for it to come through. You get your receipt so it doesn't print the whole thing out in like a small version, and your boss, Hugh Dow, sees that.
It's probably okay not to give someone's last name when you're telling the world, I hate him so much.
I hated him so much. He was such an asshole. It was a long, long time ago.
Well, let me say this. I mean, fax machines were popular about this time, but email also existed at this time. And maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. Is it commonplace to sit down, write a letter, longhand, and then fax it to somebody?
If you don't have a computer, you're gonna do that.
Why not just pick up the phone at that point?
Well, because she's working, he's working. There's a lot to say. I mean,
answering machines also existed at this time.
That doesn't mean they had one.
Okay.
I didn't see a computer there. It was a thing to have a fax machine. You could get a fast message over there.
Okay, fair. It just seems bizarre and strange.
The whole letter seems bizarre. Like when you would make a phone
Hey,
call.
Grandma's at death's door.
That's right.
We're rushing into the hospital, but give me a second. I'm gonna write this letter and fax it to you.
Right. My I hate Hugh Dow makes much more sense.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Let's lay this down. So Kevin Bacon is kind of a working class guy. He's got a young-ish, attractive wife. They have a young child who's what, 5, maybe?
5, something like that. Yeah.
Give her take a year or so. And Kevin Bacon obviously had aspirations of being some sort of a rock star because he's back there with his guitar, practicing some chords or something. Not unlike the real Kevin Bacon.
Not unlike the real Keanu Reeves or the real all these motherfuckers.
So yes. Sweet Jesus. But anyway, he works as a lineman for the electric company, working class. They rent their surprisingly large apartment from, I guess, a neighbor. He's
not an apartment. It's a house.
You're right. He rents a house. Wasn't sure if it was like a duplex sort of situation.
It looked like they're like a row house, but I could be wrong.
What's a row house?
Like they're connected on both sides.
Oh,
like a townhouse.
So. Right.
But they're really old, but that's the way they are in like the UK.
Okay. Well, this is Chicago. We know this is Chicago.
Well, I mean, these are old houses. These are from the old times. 1800s, these houses were built.
So what's funny is, the first night we meet them, they're going over to a huge party across the street, and Kevin Bacon puts his kid to sleep and takes a baby monitor. At the time, I'm like, this kid's too old to need a baby monitor.
I wrote that down. One, this kid's too old for a baby monitor.
But it kind of made sense in kind of a white trash kind of way. You take your baby monitor across the street with you to the party. So, if your child's screaming or there's, an abductor coming in the window, I guess maybe you could make it back in time.
Would it surprise you if I told you I had done the same thing back in the day? I might have been a 90s kind of situation.
Would it surprise you if it didn't surprise me?
It was totally a thing. We weren't even across the street. We were having maybe we were across the street.
You're 2 miles down the road.
We were having a New Year's Eve party, and baby was asleep, and we were out on the lawn.
I mean, you're on the property. That's seemingly acceptable, right? I don't know.
I mean, we locked the doors and stuff.
We locked our child in a burning house.
But you can't come in my house. Just go pee in the alley.
Go pee, absolutely. That's pretty standard. And then we meet the wacky sister of the wife, who she is supposed to be wacky. What did she say? She took like a night school class on hypnotism or some ridiculousness?
I mean, where else would you take this class? I assume they're all night schools or learning extension or whatever the hell you call it.
Well, I mean, clearly she's like Kreskin or something. She hypnotizes Kevin Bacon because they have kind of a tense relationship, let's just say.
It's a very love-hate combative thing. They don't seem to really hate each other, but they do talk some shit.
Well, they don't seem to like each other either.
Right.
Because there's constant shit talking and what the hell and blah, blah, blah.
They're fighting over her attention. Either that or that they banged early on.
Which wouldn't be shocking. Which would not be shocking.
It would not be shocking.
So she, as a parlor trick, at the end of the party, she hypnotizes Kevin Bacon in front of all their friends. And he is out for it. And it was kind of a cool way that they showed the hypnotism process, because you see what he's supposed to be visualizing.
Right.
Pretend you're in a theater and it shows a theater, a movie theater, and it like transforms. That was a cool moment. It was
really cool. I really liked that. And I Googled it. They said that's actually how they do it, that they had to put some music at the end. So in case anyone in the audience was watching this knocked out, the music at the end would bring them back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That apparently is a technique.
Well, because what they say, and this is kind of a reasonable opinion to have, is that most of hypnotism is BS. and it's people kind of going along with it. You know
Right.
what I mean? Not necessarily like they're in on the gag, but just kind of
Right.
like, well, they're saying bark like a dog, I'm gonna bark like a dog. Whatever. Who cares?
They say that you can't make someone do something that they wouldn't normally do.
Mhm. Right.
Like,
It's
go
suggestion.
go kill your family,
You put a murderous rage into their brain. Yeah, you couldn't do that. But at some point during the hypnotism, because she had made a point to say that he's kind of closed-minded, particularly about his opinions on hypnotism.
And
She
her.
was and her lifestyle. She says, your mind will now be open, or something to that effect. From now on, your mind will be open. And now he can hear shit and prognosticate and has visions, and he's flipping out and wigging out. And that's the inciting incident for the rest of the movie, essentially.
Right.
So creepy. Right out of the gate, the moment he snaps out of it, it is immediately
on.
It's on. The creepy factor is immediately ratcheted up. No question. Because what is he has visions of what's clearly a murder. Like, and it's a lot of somebody gets their tooth knocked out, so you see the tooth skittering across the floor, or the fingernail snap. I'm like,
snapping. Yeah.
But
it's not. But it's bits and pieces.
Correct.
But does he not know the kid got the touch?
I mean, his own child?
Yes.
I don't think so. I think they were all oblivious to the fact that their kid was literally Haley Joel Osment.
Well, I think it's interesting that the wife knows, didn't tell him, and then didn't want him to meet the other psychic people.
You're right. So one point later in the movie, she's going on a walk with her son, and the son wanders into a graveyard, and there's some kind of a police officer funeral going on.
Yes.
And a police officer stops and turns and looks at the kid, and they kind of share a moment. They kind of look at each other and kind of make faces at each other.
Dude,
blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
like The Shining. I'm like, it's all older black men are able to relate to small white children that have psychic powers.
What's funny?
They're all the Obi-Wan.
They are. Oh, no question. What's funny about this particular actor is that if you watch movies that are obviously filmed in Chicago, you will see a lot of the same actors popping up. And it's different than New York, because New York there's millions of actors just piled on top of each other.
And waving in and out.
In and out. Whereas Chicago, if you are an actor in Chicago and you stay in Chicago, anytime they film in Chicago, they're calling you up, pretty much.
Right.
So that actor, who's the African-American police officer, who's later revealed to have a touch of the psychic ability as well, was one of the escaped convicts in The Fugitive. And he's like totally mean and creepy and like violent and all sorts of stuff. And he's not that way in this.
No,
it's like
he's very nice and calm.
He is. He's sweet in this one. Yeah. It was a departure. Let me just say that. But that was it. That was an interesting connection, because you're right. He goes to her. The police officer goes to the wife and says, "Hey, I know that your husband's dealing with this. Here's our address. Tell him to come meet us." And she doesn't tell her husband.
No.
She and goes herself.
Flying off the edge.
So did she think that he just wouldn't go? Or why didn't she tell him?
I'm afraid. I mean, I think she would be afraid if he went over there, she would totally lose him. Because she's conflicted about what he's seeing, or is he crazy? It's kind of like back and forth and back and forth. Yeah, I think she thought if she sent him over here, that would be it. Their life would just explode.
You already said that she had to be the most understanding wife in the history of the world.
Yes.
Any wife who you're sound asleep and she's like, I gotta have it, where she's rolling over and getting on you while you're half asleep, that's a keeper.
That's a keeper. Oh, she's pregnant, so she's got the crazy hormones.
She does. She's ready for action.
We need it now. Get up!
Literally, get up. No question. Oh, but it was because to add on to that, because he is into it, but meanwhile he starts having visions and like pushes her off, and he's like, "That's so strange." And she's like, "Oh, you want it strange? We can do it strange."
I was like, oh shit.
She had to have it.
You had to have it. Having sex with Kevin Bacon, that's strange enough. You don't need to go crazier.
That is strange enough. No question. But you're right. You think she would have just taken her kid and bounced at some point, because after this thing, he is literally like, I'm not going to work anymore. Right? I'm not leaving the house. I'm not bathing. And later in the movie, she comes home. He's digging trenches in the backyard. And when she's like, what are you doing? He gives her some sass. He's not like, "Hey, honey, I know this seems weird." He's like, how dare you question? You don't question me.
Well, you know what? He's still a good father. This is my thing. He's still a good father because, one, he was the one who brought the baby monitor and was paying attention to it. And two, it is crazy. He's still incorporating daddy-son time because they got the boy digging the hole too. But not worry, it's not over there.
It's not over there. Now, we think he's a good father, but earlier in the movie, when the sister reveals that the wife's pregnant, his response is, bummer. That's not what That's bad.
If the doctor just came to me and told me that, I would not be using the word bummer. I'd be using much stronger terminology.
So good father, so husband, maybe at best.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Who's to say?
Less sensitive. Perhaps he was just a little tired.
Well, there's things you can think, but things you don't need to say to your recently pregnant wife.
There's the inside voice and the outside voice.
Correct. Just like you don't say, I feel like I'm being attacked to your wife trying to jump your bones. Ideally.
Get off of me.
Correct. So you figured that there had been a murder in this house. Because
somewhere on the property.
Because the son was already talking to her, to the ghost, right?
If someone had just talked to the son, sit next to me. What does your ghost friend want? Where is she buried? This movie's over awful fast. It's a communication problem.
No question. Because that was the thing. The ghost isn't doing shit to them, right?
Right.
Because like if you don't have the touch, you don't even notice them.
Right.
They're there. They're not. There's no like rattling chains or moaning or anything. Although if the wife had her way, I mean, who knows what they'd be doing up there in the bedroom. Anyway.
I guess the kid is so psychic that they can just have like a conversation, where dad, on the other hand, not so much. So it only comes in like these waves or these echoes.
Well, and that's kind of what the police officer said. Some people just have it for a time, but some people have it all the time, every day. And evidently that's the kid.
Right.
Although the kid's very well adjusted.
He's not Haley Joel Osment, like in the tent with the Jesus figures and everything.
That was the creepy moment in The Sixth Sense.
Oh my God. Genius movie.
But the kid, so after Kevin Bacon gets the touch, he goes up the stairs and the son's waiting for him and says, what? Don't be afraid, Daddy. It's okay, Daddy. Something along those lines. That was a moment as well.
That was a good moment. But Kevin Bacon, so into himself, he didn't pick up on that.
He's like, what are you talking about?
He's like, go to bed, boy.
bring me a can of Schlitz and get the hell out of my way.
Daddy's drinking a Schlitz. It's not boy time.
It is absolutely not boy time. So there's, and then the reveal is the son is being babysat by Debbie or whatever, and it's revealed that Debbie is the sister of the ghost,
right?
And that the ghost had gone missing, 6 months ago. 6 months ago,
not that long ago.
Not that long ago, and I guess it was established that the ghost was of like a teenage. They kind of suggested special needs, but it didn't seem that way. What do you think the story was?
Well, she probably had some impairment.
A little
It was
slow.
it was not obvious except for when people were talking about it. When you saw her, um, we could be friends. I'll just give you a kiss.
Right.
It sounds like there was something. It didn't seem overly severe, but someone who could be taken advantage of. Clearly,
Right. That was clearly what the grand reveal. It's like what's the murder? Now, my question to you is, you've seen this movie 1,000 times. So you
Yeah.
remembered who the killers were going in, because I did not
Yes.
remember.
Yes.
Okay. All I remember, or not remember, but what I thought was his friend had to be in on it in some way, just because the cast is too small.
The cast
And-
is too small, so your murderers got to be around here somewhere.
Absolutely. And it's not the wife and it's not the sister.
Right.
So there's only a few people left, like prominent cast members who are left. And they
Right.
established that his buddy is a total lech. Like, to the point that his wife says he
First
put
of all,
his
his
dick.
wife is way too good for him.
Well, and also remarkably understanding. But she made a point of saying he put his dick in warm soup or something. I messed up the joke.
In soup if it was warm.
He put his dick in soup if it was warm enough. Right. That's what. That's
I'd be
basically.
like, ooh.
Well, that's what she did. She's like,
Did we not have them over to our house? I mean, ew.
the wife even says, now I've got that image in my brain.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Thank
Yeah.
you for that, friend.
That's bad. If that's your opinion of your husband, that he's just on the prowl, constantly on the make, that's bad. And he's not Ricky Ricardo.
He
He's
is
just
not.
some schlo.
Exactly. This is all some weird fantasy for his crazy ego. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah. And yet he's married to someone who's equivalent of a supermodel. How did that ever happen?
Well, I mean,
She's
there were-
2 feet taller than her. She's
Yes.
as thin as a razor blade.
correct. She was age appropriate. I mean, she wasn't
She
a
was
25-year-old.
no. She was age appropriate, but she was way too good looking. Unless he was rich, that coupling wasn't happening.
And if he's living in this neighborhood, he's not rich.
Clearly.
This is the working class block party neighborhood, evidently.
Dude, that's the way it always is. Men put on these movies and then give men who they think are their equivalent these way too good looking wives.
Well, what is it? It's like that's basically every John Hughes movie where it's like, in my movie, Ducky ends up with the girl, and then the audience goes, "No, he doesn't." That sucks. You need to reshoot this movie. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there. But the grand reveal. So I got to be honest, I started falling asleep about this point. It was basically
That means nothing since you
I know.
always fall asleep.
correct. But it's after digging up the yard, he goes down to the basement and starts digging around in there.
Right.
And that's when he finds her like mummified corpse.
By
in the
accident, after he's jackhammered the basement, which I'm never going in that basement. If to access the basement, I gotta pull up a trap door in my kitchen and crawl
Yes.
into a black pit. No,
That's weird.
that's not happening. That's
Right.
not happening ever. How'd they even get all that stuff down there? Yeah, that's where you put your children when they're bad.
Oh, 100%. Well, and you had to think at some point, because okay, so he has the vision where the
It's
whole
gonna
crime is revealed.
smell. It's only been
Yes.
6 months.
Correct.
This seems like a bust.
Yes.
And what kind of masonry work is this? Because literally he bumps into it and
It
a
crumbles.
layer of stone crumbles, followed by a layer of bricks with no mortar.
Well, it was like a weird, like little like outcropping. It wasn't like it was like flush to the wall, Telltale Heart or some shit. It was like a weird. It almost looked like it was a chimney or something that was built out of the. It's like, couldn't we do better than this to hide the nature
Get it out
of the crime?
of the neighborhood. Get it out of the neighborhood. The house
Right.
was empty. Nobody was living there. You got to get it out of there. Were they waiting for it to turn to powder and then they could sprinkle it somewhere?
They could sprinkle it. I think that was their eventual.
I mean,
plan.
it just seems like a damp basement is not going to dehydrate you in
No.
6 months.
No, it'd be juicy.
They'd be juicy, and it'd be running under the cracks, and there'd be some Stinkosaurus.
So maybe, I mean, could that have been a thing where it's like at the beginning we were like, God damn, what's that smell in the kitchen? Baby, what you been
Must
cooking?
have been a rat.
Something along those lines. Why is there old ooze coming out of the wall? I guess that would be a little too obvious. So the reveal is the two neighborhood football players it was like an attempt, they thought they could take advantage of her,
Right.
but she fought back, and the one dude was like, I'm going for it anyway.
Yeah.
And the friend was like, because she's screaming, so we have to shut her up. So of course they take some plastic tarp,
tarp,
and smother her to death. Accidentally smother her to death. Doesn't seem very accidental, if I'm being honest.
The neighborhood star football players, because they're always football players,
Right.
turned out to be Rapey McRapersons. Let's go abuse the special needs girl
From the neighborhood that we
So
see every day,
disgusting.
who lives 2 houses away.
Absolutely.
I
So
mean, even if the
disgusting.
plan wasn't to kill her, what was their plan afterwards?
Yeah, after the rape. What was that plan? Oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's special.
She don't know what she talking about.
Yeah.
So that's the reveal. And Kevin Bacon now realizes it's his buddy's son was one of the rapers who had attempted to
And
commit
his
suicide.
landlord.
Well, that's revealed later.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, I don't know. I think we knew that was the father. No, we didn't know. Did we know? I don't know if we knew that the local police officer, who was also the landlord, knew. Did we know? Maybe we did know. Honestly, don't remember. But he goes to tell his buddy, hey, before I go to the cops, which is always a bad move. I wanted you to
Always
hear
a
from me
bad
first.
move. Yeah. Ridiculous.
So the friend goes, and
Did you think the drunk football players put in that wall? I don't think so.
do you think they're doing mason work?
No.
Absolutely
well, it's
not.
Pretty shitty, so maybe they did.
Maybe
I
they
don't
took
know.
a shop class. So he goes down there, his buddy goes down there, pulls out a gun, but is like, I'm going to kill myself because I've been living with the guilt
Right.
for the last 6 months. So you hear a gunshot, and then immediately doorbell rings, and now it's the police officer and the son. And one thing that was interesting, and we've talked about this before, is that typically in these scenarios, the person doesn't want to appear rude. Like, even though you know it's the killer,
Right.
you're kind of, well, they're like, hey, can I come in? You're still kind of like, okay, I guess you can, instead of just saying, hell no, you can't come in, and I'm going to lock the door.
Boom.
But Kevin Bacon said, hey, I'm kind of busy. Really? It'll just take a couple minutes. No, I'm busy. And then he comes in anyway.
That's when you know there was a problem.
That was ball game. So now it's like we already covered up.
And then
one
he pulls
murder.
out the intruder pulls out the bottle of whiskey, and then you know you're in big trouble.
You're in big trouble. They're like, we're gonna kill you. And the wife is rushing home because the grandmother, who was rushed to the hospital, is now rushed to the morgue.
Rush
I
to
don't
the
know.
morgue, rush to the funeral. Yeah.
So she rushes back just in time to also be taken prisoner by the evil killers now. But luckily, the buddy who we thought committed suicide pops up from the basement and kills the killers.
So what? When he was in the basement, he was just shooting the gun up in the ceiling. Was he shooting the dead girl? What was the shot fired? He missed?
Maybe he
Whoops.
missed. Right. Unclear. But there was that premonition from earlier where he's
Right.
sitting out on the stoop, says, they would have killed you both. Because earlier he saw that. Now it's a
This
reveal.
used to be a good neighborhood. Yeah, until
Right.
you moved in.
You sons of bitches. You didn't raise your kids right, for God's
That's
sake.
right. That's right.
So I kind of figured that's what was going to happen. Because or they were dead meat. Because there was no one else coming to save the day at that point.
No, you just need to call the popo and not be like, I'm gonna just let you know. You don't tell anybody when you find a body. Oh my god!
Well,
that was such a
you
rookie
could-
move.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like he said, I'm calling the cops, and I know your son was one of the people. You could have just said, how strange, I found this body.
Uh huh.
That's
No.
what you should have done, but
No.
such is life. What else you got? Anything else?
Dude, there's so much goodness and goody
Please.
goodness in here. Kevin Bacon was wearing a Social Distortion shirt, very big in Bakersfield, and I saw Social D here.
Oh, there you go.
Not impressed.
Oh.
I had this whole thing about the boys and the Shining thing that they ripped off Stephen King, but the reality is Stir of Echoes is a book that was published in 1958.
Richard Matheson,
Yes.
who did such things as The Incredible Shrinking Man.
Yeah.
He did I Am Legend, which became Omega Man, among other things, for God's sakes. No, he wrote a ton of stuff.
Yeah, methinks Stephen King was the ripoff. At one point, the little boy was in bed while Mama's taking a bath, and the ghost is angry and keeps putting on horror movies, and Mom flips it back, and it's Lidsville. Lidsville is the kookiest. Lidsville is the kickiest. A ridiculous Sid and Marty Krofft, where everyone is a hat.
Correct.
You're trapped in a land of people that are hats.
Anthropomorphic hats run the world in this thing. But she flips back and forth between Lidsville and Night of the Living Dead. So those are the two choices. Those are your two choices.
It was the Mummy, but the ghost decided to double down and put on Night of the Living Dead.
Correct.
I liked when the wife filled up her bathtub and it was super hot, but then you turn and the ghost is sitting in there with her hand in the water, and now it's icy cold.
It's so cold. Honey, will you check the furnace? Crickets. I ain't checking shit. You check it. Anything else?
I was annoyed with Kevin Bacon watering the dirt because this girl's been gone for 6 months. So if the earth isn't soft, she ain't buried there. You don't need to wet the soil down.
Fair. And you just create a giant swamp in your backyard.
Yeah. I mean, the soil is definitely aerated in the backyard.
Yes.
But yeah, no. He knew it was 6 months. What are you doing, crazy?
I did appreciate the moment where you hear the jackhammer going and it cuts to the police officer across the street saying, "It's a rental."
Yeah.
What's he
doing? But he doesn't go over to see what the hell's going on. And Kevin Bacon has just ripped up the whole, like the living room wood. His wife calls to see how he's doing. I'm going to come and get you. Oh, no. I feel better. No visions. Everything's great. And you turn around and you look, he's wearing the same stinking clothes as when she left, except now the floors are ripped up all through the house. He's like, no, you don't have to come. You just, okay. And the house is destroyed.
Well, that was a great moment when the cop comes at the end. He's like, yeah, I had to, get to the water main underneath. He's like, the water main doesn't run under the basement. He's like, yeah, I know that now. That was a good moment.
I was just doing a little DIY.
Wah, wah. Anything else, or should we go behind the scenes?
Let's go behind the scenes, my friends. It's all fantastic.
It's all sweet goodness. Okay. Stir of Echoes. In the scene where Tom gets angry after digging in the backyard and kicks the bucket toward the wall, it was not supposed to hit and break the window. This was a happy accident that was used in the film as Kevin Bacon stayed in character and continued the scene. I noticed that. He kicks it and the bucket goes just perfectly up to smash the second story window.
They wouldn't be able to do it if they wanted to.
No,
it would have
absolutely
been 50 takes.
In the hypnotism flashback scene, there's a scene of a safety pin being stuck through Tom's hand. This is not a special effect. A stuntman was paid to come in and have a safety pin pushed through his hand for the scene.
Dude, but that scene's not in.
Yeah, it is.
I didn't see it.
It doesn't occur when it happens. It's like the flashback later in the movie. They remember because she said she shoved. Yeah, she shoved a safety pin.
She said that, but right. I didn't ever remember seeing that. Okay.
Yeah, it was a brief moment later in the movie. On the couch, the babysitter reads The Shrinking Man by Richard Matheson, author of A Stir of Echoes, the basis for this film. Look at that.
And the babysitter is Paris Geller from Gilmore Girls. That's her character's name. I don't know what her real name is.
Good, good.
Are you not watching Gilmore Girls? Come
No,
on,
my
man.
wife loves it though.
Of
She's a big
course.
fan.
Everyone loves it.
When they were setting up the scene where Maggie leaves Jake at her relative's house, it was realized that they had gone over the number of hours a child actor that plays Jake could work due to strict Hollywood child labor laws. Crew members had to run from house to house in the neighborhood they were filming to find a child who looked enough like him to appear as the background character after their parents' approval and a very quick haircut to be able to complete the shot.
This is fine planning.
Whoops! My bad. The hypnosis sequence in which Tom is hypnotized for the first time follows the actual hypnosis techniques used by professional hypnotists.
See,
think
I
you
read
said this.
IMDb too.
Yeah. In order to ensure the audience hasn't been put to sleep, and some susceptible people have been, there's a musical accent at the close of the sequence to wake everyone up. There you go. Boom.
See, now we got to listen to it again with our eyes closed to see if you get hypnotized.
Yes, we have to bring a susceptible person in and try it out. A lot of people have wondered how Samantha's creepy walk was filmed. The camera was sped up and the actress was told to walk as slowly but as naturally as possible. When it was time to edit the scene, the footage was played at normal speed, and all the imperfections in her walk add to how creepy it appears.
I love all that. The walking backwards and then play it forward. The spider crab walks. It's all good.
Kevin Bacon plucks around on a guitar in the film, but in real life is actually a skilled guitarist. Along with his brother Michael, the Bacon brothers have released over a half dozen albums, some to acclaim. I appreciate that.
Some to acclaim.
And occasionally tour and or play live in support of these endeavors.
Great.
So there you go. We talked about this. Jake Witzke watches The Mummy Shroud, 1967, on television when his mother tells him to turn it off.
Ooh, I'm not familiar with The Mummy Shroud.
I'm not either. Let's see. In the book, Tom's famous last words before being hypnotized are, "What's the worst that could happen?" Whereas in the book he asks, exactly. In the book he asks, "What have I got to lose?"
Yeah.
So.
Sanity.
Yeah, Sanity. I think that's about it. Kevin Bacon, Ileana Douglas, and Kevin Dunn starred with Jennifer Aniston in Picture Perfect in 1997. That's helpful.
I didn't see that.
Let's look at the cast and crew, shall we?
Why, there's Kevin Bacon, who no one can figure out how old he is since he was in, oh my God, Animal House.
Animal House.
I think he was 40 in Animal House.
Yep.
So I think he's like 90 now, or no one knows.
Well, what's amazing about Kevin Bacon, did you ever play that game, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon?
I'm never good at that.
Well, you got to know the cheats. There are certain movies that are the cheats, where there's a bunch of actors in it, like A Few Good Men. Few Good Men is a good one, because you got Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson, Kiefer Sutherland, the list goes on and on and on. Demi Moore. Sleepers was a movie that had Brad Pitt and who the hell else? Now it's all just jumping right out of my mind. But that's another good one that has like 6 other actors that are famous in it. Of like Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro's in that. Now that I'm remembering.
Right.
So if you know those cheats, it makes it a lot easier. That's all I'm saying. But he's been in so goddamn many of them. It's ridiculous.
The interweb says he is 66, but I don't think he is.
He looks good.
He's older. I think he's older than that.
You think it's all a lie?
It may be a lie.
He was. I just
older. Eddie Murphy. It says he's only 63. That seems a lie too.
Well, Eddie Murphy was only 19 when he was on Saturday Night Live.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? He was young. And speaking of Eddie Murphy, I just saw over the summer Beverly Hills Cop 4, which was actually quite good, with Kevin Bacon and Eddie Murphy. So there you go.
So
Boom.
Animal House came out in 78.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget Friday the 13th.
I can do this math myself. So he was 20 in Animal House.
Boom. There you go. Makes sense.
Fascinating.
Okay. Directed by David Koepp, who also wrote it, based upon the novel by Richard Matheson. You know him for he helped write Jurassic Park, Stir of Echoes, Mission Impossible, Ghost Town. He wrote a bunch of stuff, actually.
I'm not familiar with Ghost Town. Kevin, what is that?
Ghost Town is the Ricky Gervais movie where he can see dead people, ironically. But it's a comedy.
Oh.
I know, it's a comedy. Evidently, he likes to write about similar issues here. Kevin Bacon played Tom. You know him from such things as Footloose in 1984, Hollow Man.
All the way through.
What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Hollow Man in 2000. That was kind of an Invisible Man kind of movie.
Okay.
He was in The Woodsman in 2004. I do not know what that is.
No.
He was in Mystic River in 2003. Very depressing.
Mm-hmm.
And 10 million other things.
Including Animal House. And Friday the 13th.
The OG, absolutely.
The OG. He was like a little baby.
Little baby. Zachary David Cope played Jake, or as I call him, the other Haley Joel Osment. He was in Stir of Echoes and The Wedding Singer. He was the nephew, he said, who called Adam Sandler's fiance who leaves him at the altar a bitch. You a bitch. And that's it.
That's
98,
it.
99. That was the first career. Very
Parents
talented.
Like, that's enough.
Catherine Irby plays Maggie, the wife. You know her from such things as Stir of Echoes. She was in 144 episodes of Law & Order Criminal Intent, playing Detective Alexandra Alex Eames.
I kept waiting for her to get together with Vincent D'Onofrio, but then they went on this whole thing about how he's insane.
Well, that makes sense. She was in What About Bob in 1991, despite the fact that she was only 17 years younger than Richard Dreyfuss, who played her father, and 10 years younger than the woman who played would have played her mother. So there you go.
But I think she's tiny, so
she's youthful looking.
Sure.
And she was also in D2, The Mighty Ducks, so the sequel to Mighty Ducks in 1994. And thousands of other things, I'm sure. Let's see. Ileana Douglas played Lisa, the wacky sister. You know her from such things as Stir of Echoes in 1999, yes. To Die For in 1995. I remember that with Nicole Kidman. The New Guy in 2002. I'm unfamiliar with that.
Unfamiliar. And
Ghost World in 2004 or 2001. I remember her from Cape Fear with Robert De Niro and Nick Nolte.
Doesn't he murder her?
He doesn't murder her, but he like bites her cheek and kind of beats her up.
That's right.
Yeah, that was a yucky scene.
That was yucky.
Let's see. Kevin Dunn played Frank, the schlubby neighbor who'll stick his dick in soup if it's warm enough. He was Principal Zito in Warrior in 2011. He was FBI Agent Doyle in 1996 Chain Reaction. He was Ron Witwicky in 2007's Transformers, which was actually not bad. The first Transformers was kind of fun. It was just all the other ones that were horrendously horrible.
I haven't seen any of the movies you just mentioned.
And he was in Dave in 1993, where Kevin Kline is the twin brother of the president and becomes the president for a while. So he was in that as well.
Great.
He's in a ton of stuff. Really quickly, Samantha was played by Jennifer Morrison. That's the ghost girl. I had seen her in something before. She looked vaguely
But she's
familiar.
blonde.
She's usually blonde.
Her blonde.
Correct. She was in 130 episodes of House MD, playing Dr. Allison Cameron. And she was in 137 episodes of Once Upon a Time, playing Emma Swan. She was Winona Kirk in the Star Trek reboot, and she was Mindy in Big Stan in 2007, which I'm unfamiliar with.
Okay.
She's a working girl. She's doing her thing.
Yeah. She was on House. House was the best back in the day.
Very popular show. Very popular. Stir of Echoes, currently on Rotten Tomatoes, 68% fresh. Do you know what the audience gave it?
80%?
70%. Boom.
A 68? That doesn't even sound right. They must have been watching some other movie.
Could be. Let's take a look about the top critics, shall we?
We shall.
Roger Ebert from the Chicago Sun-Times says, Stir of Echoes is a supernatural thriller firmly rooted in a blue-collar Chicago neighborhood where everyone on the block knows one another, although not as well as they think.
Ooh.
Kevin Bacon stars in one of his best performances. 3 out of 4. Boom. Janet Maslin of the New York Times says, in a taut, grippingly intense performance, Bacon captures the frenetic torment of a man driven to extremes by forces he can't begin to fathom. 3.5 out of 5. I guess that's good. Good-ish. Good adjacent.
I love it. They spend 20 minutes about how fantastic everything is, but you give you a D. In a gripping and compelling performance, it brought me to my knees. 2 out of 9.
2 out of 9. Absolutely. Aaron, what is your rating for Stir of Echoes?
For Stir of Echoes, I have to say that low rating blows my mind. I think it totally stands up. It is solid as Barack. I'm going to give it a 3.95. I don't want no trapdoor basement out of 5.
That's good. That's good. I think I'm right there with you. I'll give it just an even 4. Call it even. It's creepy. It gets the job done.
It makes sense.
Right. It does make sense. Now, I will say there are adult themes, including the rape and murder of a special
where
needs.
we are now? We're having
adult
trigger warnings. No, I deny you.
Well, no. I'm not trying to give a trigger warning. I'm just saying normally this film, I would say it's good for the whole family, but I don't know if it is because of those issues. I don't know if it's good for the whole family, but I would suggest if somebody's into kind of creepy, ghosty stuff, I definitely recommend. No question. Indeedly do. Any last thoughts of Stir of Echoes?
Go see it, kids. If you haven't seen it or it's been a while, totally stands up. I love ghost story. I love a good ghost story. Let me clarify that.
I love all ghost stories, good, bad, or indifferent. Where
exactly.
do I sign up?
If you enjoyed The Sixth Sense, you'll definitely enjoy this.
I think so. And I guess it did not do as well as people anticipated because it came on the heels of The Sixth Sense and a few other kind of movies that are similar themed.
Yeah. After Sixth Sense, like every movie was about ghosts.
There was a Stir of Echoes 2. Did you know that?
Ooh, no, that doesn't sound good.
My understanding is it was a made-for-TV movie called Stir of Echoes Homecoming, starring Rob Lowe. So there you go. Seemingly unrelated. So
I wanted it to be the ghost of the boy who committed suicide, and he's angry.
Well, he lived, though. They rushed him to the hospital.
They rushed him to the hospital, and it was touch and go.
It should have been the grandma's ghost, because she's pissed off that her son had to send a fax
to get her homecoming. Grandma's coming back.
Right.
And this time it's for blood.
This time it's personal. Absolutely. So, thank you very much. Go to our pages across social media. We're on Blue Sky and Threads and X and Facebook and TikTok and Instagram. So, check all that good stuff out. We are also on YouTube. You might be watching us through that as we speak.
Maybe.
You can also email us at the podcast that wouldn't die at
Gmail.
You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So like, share, rate, and review. Won't you?
Won't you please?
Aaron, what is your social media situation?
I'm on this thing called Instagram. I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. I got some artwork on Artsy and First Dibs. Aaron Doherty. Check it out.
Check it out. Do yourself a favor. Next week, we're doing the horror new classic, the remake, Speak No Evil, starring James McAvoy and Scoot McNairy and Mackenzie Davis and I think that's about it.
People.
Some other
People.
randos. You can only watch this in theaters, though. So you have to rush out and see it. Now remember, it is the remake, not the original Dutch classic. So
Which we have also reviewed. So
we have,
you,
right.
you can go listen to that one too. So maybe when we post it, you should put like remake, the reimagining, or the year.
Maybe I shall. I'll call it the reimagining.
Maybe I shan't.
Well, basically, whenever it's a movie where there's multiple names for the same thing, or if there is a remake, I will include the year, so there's no confusion.
That's a
So,
good idea.
Send in your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and we may talk about it on the show. Aaron, do we have any messages from our friends on the social media? I don't think we do. They said peace to us this week.
They said peace in the Middle East. They enjoy what we're doing and want us to do more.
Absolutely. So, thank you very much, and be well.
I'll say good day.